Hello everyone, this is David, and tonight's movie that we watched is the 1992 Godzilla vs. Mothra. Now this film is kind of an interesting take, as it kind of combines the original Mothra with kind of Godzilla vs. Mothra, or the original Godzilla vs. the Thing, that happened back in the 60s. So this is a pretty interesting combo update. Brings Mothra back, brings Godzilla back after his fight with King Ghidorah and whatnot. So let's talk about the monsters. So we got Godzilla, so obviously he's in this movie. We got Mothra, and she's in this movie. But we also got a bonus monster, and that is the Black Mothra, known as Batra. And what is Batra? So Mothra and Batra are sort of a yin-yang dualistic set of creatures. It's kind of funny because Mothra's kind of white and Batra's kind of black, and other than that they have, I guess, similar color schemes. But so to explain, it's kind of complicated. Mothra is, for lack of a better term, the guardian of humanity and balance, I guess. And Batra is the guardian of the earth and nature, and sort of a force of destruction that is needed when things get too far out of balance. So basically, when the earth falls into a state of balance, because in this universe the earth is a living organism, when the earth falls out of balance, Batra comes and sets the balance back. So that's what that is. I also kind of get the impression that, I don't remember if they specifically state it, but it seems like Mothra was a created creature by some ancient civilization, although I don't know if that's ever stated. I kind of get that impression of it. I'm not entirely certain that's correct. I don't think it is, but it's just kind of the impression it's always left with me. So anyway, let's talk about Batra for a little bit. So, like Mothra, Batra has two forms: a larval form and an adult form, where he is a moth, and he has a lot more abilities than Mothra. So in his larval form, he can swim and burrow, which Mothra can't burrow, but Mothra can swim. He can also go underwater, which I've never seen Mothra do. And he has a laser horn and eye beams in that form, which is pretty impressive. And then in his adult form, he can fly, so he can't burrow or swim anymore, but now he can fly, so that makes up for it. And he has omnidirectional eye beams called prism beams that he can fire, which are quite powerful. And he's quite strong, as he both picks up Godzilla in this and picks up a Ferris wheel to move it out of the way. Now, traditionally, Mothra and Batra are enemies because they kind of stand for different perspectives, but we'll get into that as the movie goes on. So this movie starts with a meteor crashing down to Earth, and it lands in, I think, the Asagara Trench, something like that, some trench, and it lands basically next to Godzilla, and that wakes up Godzilla. So now Godzilla's back. All right, cool. He's doing his thing. Cuts to this guy, Takaya Fujita, who's basically like Indiana Jones, if Indiana Jones was just like a guy stealing stuff. So that's kind of like that character. He's like an Indiana Jones, but like a more, like if Indiana Jones and Han Solo were the same character kind of thing. So he's like going through this temple, and the temple collapses, and he has like this idol of Ganesh. At least I think it's Ganesh. It looks like Ganesh. I'm not entirely sure. And he steals it, and he gets caught on the way out as the temple collapses. I don't even know who. So he's in prison, and these people come to visit him, and they want him to help him with this this mission they're doing. They're going on this company's going, Maritomo company is going on an exploration mission to this island, because they got some satellite photos and some interesting stuff popped up. So he doesn't want to go at first, because he says he's getting out of jail in a couple days, but it turns out they've changed his sentence, so he's going to be in jail a lot longer, so he ends up going with them. So that happens. Batra wakes up, and he's kind of just wandering around in the bottom of the ocean. So that's the thing. Um, they get to the island. Turns out they go to Infant Island. Yeah, it's back. They go to Infant Islands. They're kind of wandering around this place. There's this ancient civilization that was destroyed there. They find out about. They find the giant egg that Mothra hatches out of. They find the cosmos after some adventures. The cosmos explain the story about how they're basically like the spirits of the earth that seek balance, to bring balance to the earth. And they're like benign spirits, basically. And they tell them about Batra, who woke up and is probably going to fuck up a bunch of stuff because, men are bringing the earth out of balance. So the representative from the Maritoma company is like, well, we got this giant egg. We could definitely do something with it. So the Cosmos are like, well, if you think you can do something with it, go for it. So they take the egg, and then Godzilla attacks. So that's not good. And then Batra attacks. Well, sorry. Then the egg hatches. Mothra pops out. Mothra's fighting Godzilla. It's not going so hot. Mothra's using everything he's got. He's got the web. It's not doing much. Batra shows up. Just knocks Mothra just out of the way. Just boom, you're done. Oh, at this point, Batra has also attacked a city. He went nuts. He blew up a city, which wasn't good, and then burrowed into the earth. Now he's back out here in the ocean, coming to confront Mothra again, and then fight Godzilla. So, what ends up happening is Mothra gets just knocked out of the way. Batra just overpowers him, just goes, get the fuck out of the way, knocks him away. Fights Godzilla. Godzilla hits him with his atomic breath. Batra fires back with his laser horn, and then his eye beams, and they both go underwater, and they have a big brawl. They cause a volcanic eruption. They basically rupture a fault line, from my understanding. Fall into the lava, and they're missing. They're AWOL. So they take the Cosmos back to the city a la Mothra, where the Cosmos got stolen, and now Mothra is going to come back and look for him. So now the military is all concerned because now Mothra is running around, and the military really doesn't like giant monsters. And so at first they were going to give the Cosmos back, but then the thief guy steals them because he wants to sell them for like a bunch of cash. So Mothra's rampaging through the city, and that's a bad day. And basically the guy's daughter ends up showing up, and is basically like, come on, we have to give the Mothra back her fairies because that's where they belong. And he's like, okay. So they get the fairies and they let him go. And they're like, okay, well, they're not mad or anything. They're actually really nice little fairies. And they're like, okay, well, that's nice. We're going to go hang out with Mothra now. And then all of a sudden, Mount Fuji erupts. At this point, the army attacks Mothra as well. Before Mount Fuji erupts, actually. So the military attacks him, or her, and she spins a web and turns into a cocoon for him. And then Godzilla attacks. Godzilla comes out of Mount Fuji, so that's a bad day. Mothra hatches out of her egg, or out of her cocoon, as it were. And then Batra isn't still alive. He's in the ocean, and he just morphs into his flying form. He doesn't need a cocoon or anything. He's better than that. So they both come in, and first Mothra and Batra are fighting, and Godzilla's just rampaging around the city, which I believe is Yokohama again. And they end up. Mothra ends up convincing Batra that Godzilla is a bigger threat to the world than either men or Mothra. So they end up teaming up, and they form a monster tag team to stop Godzilla. And there's like, at one point Godzilla like shoots Mothra. It's a long brawl, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, but like it's a very long brawl for the monsters, which it doesn't go well for Mothra. Mothra gets hit with the atomic breath, falls down. Godzilla's gonna drop a Ferris wheel on it. Batra grabs the Ferris wheel, throws it at Godzilla. It's all pretty good. It's a really good fight. It's nice. It's a long brawl. It's great. Batra hits him with his like prism beams. Godzilla fires back. They eventually take out Godzilla. He's not dead though, and Mothra and Batra both pick him up. Batra grabs him by his shoulders, and Mothra grabs him by like his tail, and they both fly him out to the sea. Godzilla's not dead though, and he just bites onto Batra, and basically kills him. And Batra and Godzilla crash back into the ocean. At which point, Mothra returns for the Cosmos, lands, and the Cosmos explained that a meteor in 1999 is coming and it'll destroy the Earth. Batra was going to go stop it, but Batra's dead now, so Mothra's going to go stop it. And they're all like, well, why is Mothra going to do that? And they're like, because we believe in you. Yay! And then they fly off into space. And that is Godzilla vs. Mothra. All things said and done, this is a pretty good film. The Heisei era has much better, obviously, like budget and whatnot. There's only, I think, one film in the entire Heisei series that I consider subpar. That's coming up in a couple, but we'll get there eventually. Not quite there yet, but, time. A couple more movies, a couple more days. Don't have too long to wait. But this one's definitely very watchable. Again, it's acceptable for kids. There's a little bit of monster on monster violence in terms of like blood or monster blood, as it were. Batra bleeds green, I believe. So I guess it gets past censors, no problem. But it's really not too bad. Kids would probably be fine with this. Other than that, it's a pretty solid entry. It continues the story. Miki Sugusa is in it, but she's kind of more of a minor character. They use her to find the Cosmos when they've been kidnapped, which is convenient. And she kind of tells, she's the one that's like, oh, Godzilla's coming. And she's working with, the military and everything. She doesn't have a major role, in the other couple ones, in the last two. But, you can only have her do so much. But, this is the third movie where she's the same character, which is pretty rare. I don't think any other character has had as long a run as she has. And she's in, I think, every movie in the Heisei era except for 1984. Except for the Return of Godzilla. So from Biollante to Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, she is in every movie, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, yeah, so this one's pretty good. Definitely check it out. Definitely watch it. It's very, very good. If you like Mothra, it retells the Mothra story in a modern thing. And as a bonus, Mothra gets her own spin-off in Rebirth of Mothra 1, 2, and 3. So you should check those out. Maybe I'll review those at some later time once I'm done with all this Godzilla stuff. Still not exactly sure what's going to happen afterwards. But next time, it's Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2 in another battle where Godzilla brings back one of his most iconic foes. Not quite as iconic as Ghidorah, but still pretty brutal. Alright, guys. Alright, folks. Good night.